A groundbreaking legal victory just shattered 90 years of federal firearms regulation. The ATF has officially conceded defeat in federal court, and a revolutionary short-barreled firearm is now completely exempt from NFA restrictions. No tax stamps, no registration, no government approval required. This isn't speculation. It's happening right now, and the implications will blow your mind. Hit that subscribe button because what I'm about to reveal will fundamentally change how we think about gun laws in America. The legal victory nobody saw coming. The ATF just admitted they were wrong after nearly a decade of legal battles. Franklin Armory proved that defeating federal gun laws isn't just possible, it's profitable. The company invested over $1.2 million in legal fees and endured 8 years of federal court proceedings. But they didn't just win. They demolished the government's case so completely that federal judges had no choice but to rewrite how short-barreled firearms are classified. Federal District Court Judge William Orrick didn't simply rule in Franklin Armory's favor. He essentially declared the ATF's interpretation legally flawed. What most gun owners don't realize about this victory is that it wasn't achieved through traditional constitutional rights arguments. The real breakthrough lies in how they exploited a technical loophole that's been hiding in plain sight for 91 years. The 91-year loophole everyone missed. Since 1934, gun manufacturers, lawyers, and ATF agents overlooked a critical weakness in how federal law defines rifles versus other firearms. The National Firearms Act specifically states that rifles must fire only a single projectile through a rifled bore. Those 4 words became the key to unlocking NFA exemption for potentially millions of firearms. Franklin Armory's engineers discovered that if a firearm can shoot both single projectiles and multi-projectile ammunition, like 410 shotgun shells, it technically falls outside the legal definition of a rifle entirely. The ATF's own technical division confirmed this firearm shoots .45 Colt cartridges, or 10-bore shot shells, duplex rounds, and snake shot, making it legally impossible to classify as a traditional rifle under existing statutes. The brilliance of this approach is that the same rifled barrel technology functions identically, but the ammunition capability changes everything from a legal standpoint. The manufacturing rush begins. Right now, dozens of firearms manufacturers are racing to redesign existing rifles to fire multi-projectile ammunition and escape NFA regulation completely. The legal precedent established by Franklin Armory means any firearm capable of shooting both traditional bullets and shot shells can potentially claim NFA exemption, and the ATF cannot legally challenge these designs without contradicting their own settlement agreement. Industry sources report that major manufacturers like Ruger, Remington, and Savage are already developing short-barreled variants of popular rifles specifically designed to fire 410 shells alongside traditional cartridges. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives issued an open letter dated August 29, 2024, specifically stating they cannot regulate firearms that don't meet the statutory definition of rifles, shotguns, or pistols, creating a massive regulatory gap. Interstate travel freedom. For the first time since 1934, American gun owners can legally transport short-barreled, shoulder-fired weapons across all 50 states without federal paperwork, ATF notification, or risk of federal prosecution. The settlement agreement specifically prohibits the ATF from requiring Form 53.20 applications for interstate transportation of these exempt firearms, meaning you can drive from California to New York with a 7.5-inch barrel rifle and face 0 federal restrictions. Previously, NFA firearms required advance ATF approval for interstate travel, often taking 4 to 6 weeks for processing and carrying felony penalties for violations. The new exempt status means these firearms transfer on standard Form 40473 background checks at any licensed dealer, eliminating the 6 to 12-month NFA approval process entirely. State laws still apply, but federal transportation restrictions that have constrained gun owners for decades are completely eliminated for these specific firearms. The most significant impact of this ruling extends far beyond transportation laws. It's fundamentally changing how the firearms industry approaches product development. The economic impact. Franklin Armory's legal victory triggered an immediate $47 million surge in firearms industry investment, with major manufacturers scrambling to license multi-projectile technology and develop NFA-exempt product lines. The company announced plans to license their technology platform to other American manufacturers, potentially creating hundreds of new short-barreled firearms that bypass NFA regulations entirely. Industry analysts project this technology could generate over $200 million in new firearm sales within the next 18 months, as consumers rush to purchase short-barreled rifles without NFA compliance costs. The elimination of $200 tax stamps per firearm makes these weapons significantly more affordable for average gun owners while removing regulatory delays that previously discouraged purchases. The beginning of systematic change. This single legal victory created the first successful template for systematically dismantling National Firearms Act regulations through innovative design rather than constitutional challenges. The precedent established by Franklin Armory proves that technical compliance with statutory language can override ATF regulatory interpretations, opening multiple pathways for challenging other NFA restrictions on suppressors, machine guns, and destructive devices. Legal scholars studying the court documents identified at least 7 other areas where NFA statutory language contains similar technical ambiguities that could potentially be exploited through engineering innovation. The Firearms Regulatory Accountability Coalition, which supported Franklin Armory's case, reports receiving over 200 inquiries from manufacturers and inventors seeking to develop NFA-exempt versions of currently regulated items. The federal court precedent now requires the ATF to strictly interpret statutory definitions rather than applying broad regulatory authority, fundamentally limiting their ability to expand NFA classifications without explicit congressional action. The confidential settlement details. The confidential settlement agreement between Franklin Armory and the Department of Justice contains provisions that extend far beyond just these specific firearms, potentially affecting future ATF regulatory decisions for years to come. According to legal filings obtained through Freedom of Information Act requests, the settlement includes language requiring the ATF to establish formal technical review procedures for firearms that don't clearly fit existing statutory categories. The agreement also mandates that the ATF cannot retroactively reclassify firearms already approved for commercial sale without following new due process requirements, protecting manufacturers from arbitrary regulatory changes. Most significantly, the settlement establishes a legal framework where firearms manufacturers can request pre-classification determinations for innovative designs before investing in production, reducing regulatory uncertainty that has plagued the industry for decades. A new strategy for gun rights. Franklin Armory achieved what decades of Second Amendment litigation couldn't accomplish. They bypassed constitutional arguments entirely and defeated the federal government using their own laws against them. Rather than challenging the NFA's constitutionality in court, which has failed repeatedly for 90 years, they proved that innovative engineering could make federal regulations technically inapplicable to new firearms designs. This strategy sidesteps the Supreme Court's reluctance to broadly interpret Second Amendment protections while achieving identical practical results for gun owners seeking short-barreled firearms. Constitutional law professors studying this case note that technical compliance victories are significantly harder for future administrations to reverse through regulatory changes or executive orders. The path forward. We're witnessing the beginning of a fundamental shift in how gun rights can be protected and expanded. This victory demonstrates that innovative thinking and technical precision can accomplish what traditional legal challenges have struggled to achieve. The precedent is set, the technology is proven, and the regulatory landscape has permanently changed. The era of accepting unconstitutional restrictions may finally be coming to an end, not through political battles or court challenges, but through American ingenuity and technical excellence.